From the low ratings after Mark Harmon's exit, to using tired tropes that just don't have the spirit of NCIS anymore. Here is why NCIS should have ended with Harmon's exit. First, I gotta talk about how Gibbs was so important. Let's face it, a lot of us are still mourning the loss of Gibbs, and it looks like these new episodes of NCIS just aren't filling the void. To be fair, it's a pretty big hole he left. For starters, he was one of the only two original characters to ever make it through a whole 19 seasons. So, as time went on, the show relied on him more and more. So did the OG fans. I get it, a show that goes on for so long is bound to change and evolve. Harmon is not the only cast member to have left either. Still, those changes aren't always for the better. When you think about it, the special agents were always the central characters in NCIS. The constants were what kept the show's foundation strong. Besides, since this is an episodic show, there really are no recurring villains, so the burden falls on the special agents to carry the series. In the beginning, the cast was so strong. Mark Harmon in the lead, Paulie Perrette, who gave us Abby, and the list just goes on and on. But I'm talking about Gibbs here.
Better yesterday.
Hey, don't litter.
That's not littering. It's for the birds.
Once you cut the head off that snake, the body dies. There is no more Dr. Death.
Sure, he wasn't the only special agent involved, but he tied the team together. Come to think of it, you only realize just how important a leader is after they leave. He was the prime example. Everyone learned from him. It was so fulfilling to watch his dynamic with each individual agent for this reason. After his exit, only Ducky remained from the original cast. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Ducky, but he didn't really fill the gap, and I'll tell you why. Ducky was a doctor, not an agent. They really played up his role in the later seasons, which only makes sense. He was the only smidge of familiarity left. It was a good effort, but it just wasn't enough. The main reason being the fact that he was a doctor. This meant he was usually on the sidelines, not at the forefront of every investigation. No agent had to check in with him for the bigger events in every episode. That's just the nature of his role. That's why it really didn't work when they tried to fill the hole Gibbs left with Ducky. From being present at the crime scene to smacking McGee on the head, Gibbs was always there.
Just maybe he heard you asking all those questions and he got his butt out of here.
You can blame me all you want, but did you see that young girl in there? That could have been Emily.
Forget her!
What?
He was the thread that held them all together, and by extension, us. Plus, they would change up the special agents each season, but he was always the main guy in control. And man, did he do his job well. It's not just that, but his personality actually dictated the whole series and set the tone for this world. After all, Leroy Gibbs was the best DC agent. Hear me out, okay? So, the NCIS universe is nothing but expansive. We've got an NCIS Hawaii and LA, so there's a lot of content. Other than the fact that they're all crime procedurals under NBC, there's another common thread. It's that each show is based in a specific setting. Criminal task forces differ from one state to the next, so it makes sense. As for the flagship show, it's set in Washington, D.C., and there's a very particular way DC agents carry themselves. For example, NCIS LA is set in Los Angeles, of course. They investigate their suspects in a boathouse, and everyone has a casual, laid-back attitude. Typical LA lifestyle, right? They even have a former LAPD liaison in a lead role.
I'm sorry, Agent Gibbs. I just wanted to tell you something before you heard it anywhere else.
Hear what?
Jimmy, here you are. Gibbs?
Tyler?
Hey, are you okay?
It's just the California vibe. On the other hand, DC is much more serious. There's a lot more focus on national safety there, and the agents have to represent that. And well, Gibbs embodied all of that perfectly. As a leader, he really had to be on top of his game. It's the type of professionalism that does not get boring either. I know we all loved his dynamic with McGee. It was hilarious. But the main thing was that he was the shining star, an almost perfect agent. Because of this, Plus, he's the guy who set the original show apart from its spin-offs. He didn't have any tolerance for bureaucratic nonsense, and he had just the right balance of strengths and weaknesses. Keeping that in mind, you won't be surprised to know that the show is not doing too well in terms of ratings. How bad, you ask? Well, NCIS Season 20 viewership went down by 1 million. All truth, no lies. It really did go down that much. First of all, there was some uproar over the fact that they didn't include Harmon in the opening credits of the season. Even after his exit, he was still in the creds as a producer for the longest time. It was actually the little sliver of hope fans were holding on to. You know, Mark may not play Gibbs anymore, but he is still producing, which makes the chance of him coming back a little more than zero. Of course, once he wasn't in the credits, fans were anxious, to the point where viewership numbers went down. According to TV series Finale, Season 19 numbers were up at 7.57 million, while Season 20 only went up to 6.5 million. Not only do we not have Gibbs anymore, but the other storylines themselves have fallen off really bad.
Just got off the phone with the CEO. Turns out that Corporal Darby put in for disability retirement 2 weeks. Well, they are already at Darby's house. Double checking the crime scene and Agent Tyler's witness list.
What about you, Gibbs?
All the more reason why the show should have ended with Harmon's exit. Many OG fans will agree with what I'm about to tell you. I mean, the new season is more like a sitcom. Okay, so crime procedurals and sitcoms have gone hand in hand, but not over here. NCIS has always been a serious show, even with its humor. Now, I'm not so sure. What I've noticed is that every episode has to fix conflict by the end, no matter how crazy or threatening it is. In the earlier seasons, the same plotline regarding some characters would be continued throughout a season. Take Torres, for instance. In Season 20, he's seeing a counselor, but nothing ever came of it. They didn't dive into his mental health struggles at all, especially when you realize the man had been kidnapped and shot. You can't be a-okay after that. The episodes just aren't connecting well anymore. See, this is what happens when you don't have Gibbs to hold NCIS together. Episode 3 did hint at a Gibbs comeback with that Alaskan mission, but nothing came of that either. The biggest thing of all has to be how the fans miss him so much. Hang on while I tell you everything they said on social media, because yep, NCIS fans bombarded the show's Twitter. To be fair, the official account did post an old gif of Gibbs, with the caption telling the fans to bring it in. You bet your bottom dollar all the Gibbs stands brought it in. Literally, the engagement on that one tweet was crazy. People were in the replies praising Harmon's acting, to the point where one fan thanked him for 18 years of service. Another person said that they really hope they see him make at least one cameo. His exit made them really sad, but it's okay, they will settle. It seems like all we've been doing is settle. NCIS has enough spin-off potential to branch out characters like Torres and Parker, right? So it makes sense if they ended the flagship show after Gibbs left for Alaska. They could easily even do a character-based show. Imagine an Agent Parker show. It would keep things fresh too. And that, folks, is why NCIS should have ended with Mark Harmon's exit. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.